Hello and welcome to the Daily Loop. Let's get into it. Transfer bids. Okay, I think this guy we've invested a load into this guy. We're just not going to sell him. We've poured in contract extensions and whatnot, so we won't sell him. His value is just a lot higher than that to us. Rivera, I don't think we will sell. We're happy with this guy. He's out of all the wide midfielders, he might be the only one that we're truly happy with to keep. So we won't get rid of him. And then this guy, I think we just sell. It's weird because it's like I think he's just progressed really bad for a player of this age. So, which is not surprising because he's not really played at all. Oh, we can't sell him because he's a backup youth. Okay, so we're just stuck with the situation. Fine. It is a reason actually to get a keeper that is like 18, 17, 16. To be honest, is just to not pay the wages, because if we get a 16-year-old keeper, we're saving the 30k wages, right? So a season, which could be 3 seasons, could be 90k plus, yeah. So anyway, so we'd like to sell him, but let's look at the academy trialists. 16 composure, good passing, good enough that he maybe could be the creative forward role. The movement's not great, but to be honest, like, we've got so many requirements. That's probably the last of all of the key stuff, if you know what I mean. So, and the aerial ability is important as well for how our team plays. But again, like, I think we'll persevere with him. 59 strength, that's awesome. Waiting on the tackling's come out at 14. Do we already know that? I'm not sure. Natural fitness 51. 49 speed. Yeah, so there's a few here that I think at the end we're happy to keep all of these guys. So, and we're happy to move out a few of them. I think in particular could move this guy out. We could move the striker out. I think we can move the AMR out. So there's a few, but we're just looking for a good, like, so this one passing vision not high enough. Don't use right back. Just 1 speed. Maybe. We don't really need a DMC, but for our youth team, I think let's have a look what the situation is. We're pretty loaded, but we've got an 18-year-old, we've got a 16-year-old, we've got a 19-year-old, we've got another 9. We're pretty loaded, but we're not entirely happy with any of them, to be honest. This youth player could be like a... he could always just be a bench, so maybe we could speculate on him. I think the issue is what do we find out? Work rate, crossing. So I don't really care too much for the deep line playmaker with the work rate. Crossing doesn't really matter. Endurance matters because we would not want another low endurance one. We want him to be high endurance. And then the natural fitness, so that's nice. And then the finishing doesn't really matter. And then the long shots doesn't really matter. So a lot of doesn't really matter coming up, to be honest. We'd have to hold a long time, and the vision isn't great for deep. So maybe instead of somebody, we'll think about it after. We'll see if there's anybody else that we really actually do want to bring in. Too low tackling. Don't use AML. I think just not as promising as the current AMC. I think the low long shots and the low composure is quite off-putting in particular, and just not finding the speed out anytime soon. And it's like natural fitness, movement, crossing, control. I just think probably not as good as the other guy. This guy, finishing is miles away. So I think we'll just park. The speed is next, but I think the composure's already not great, and the long shots is miles off. What is it? It's speed is important, and movement is important. Work rate, agility, aerial ability. I don't know. We're waiting a long time, and the player's got some significant things not great already. I think, namely, that really low passing. When we are, a team that we want to work towards sort of like a retaining possession type tactic. So I think we would want him not involved in the build-up, which basically means he has to be a clinical goal scorer, and he's only got 32 composure, and the finishing is miles off. I think we just pass on this guy, because he can't really be what we ever need him to be. Having said that, this guy, it's kind of true for as well. But I think this guy's probably just better than this guy, because his passing may not be bad, so he may end up being useful. I don't think either of them will make it, to be honest. This guy, some low stuff, but the work rate is good, so that speed is fine. I think if the endurance is high, their natural fitness isn't particularly great, because we want him to be a box-to-box, but the determination is really great. The passing is next. To be honest, I think it's better to put this guy in than one of these other central midfielders, so we'll look at that. Don't use right back, don't use AMR, don't use left back, although he might be decent if we did. Don't use DMR, no. So, same again, if we did use maybe 50 tackling, okay, some low stuff. So I think we're talking about maybe trying to put in this guy, and the DMC. It's weird to have so many MCs in, but it's okay, but it's just weird. So I think this guy, what are we waiting for? Positioning don't matter, marking don't matter. So we've got to wait at least until C to find out anything that matters. I'm inclined just to pass on this guy, because I just don't think he's going to make it in the end, and I'd rather just have players in where we can rotate him out much faster. So I think I'll put the DMC in for him, or the MC. To be honest, this isn't great either, but at least because we're not finding out. I don't know, it's not great either, to be honest. But at least the vision's not great. Anyway, we'll see. I think the one we really want to get in is the MC, so I think this guy for sure hangs around, because he could be great. I think this guy, just the low tackling, the low finishing, I'm not sure what he's supposed to be in the end. If the passing comes out like 60, you have something interesting with like 60 passing, 60 vision, and then he's got the 60 speed and 58 long shots. So he's like not necessarily a box-to-box midfielder, but he could be something for us. So I'm inclined to hold on to him, just because he could be something special, something like some kind of like creative midfield type role. And this guy, I'm really not sure again, like the one aerial ability and stuff, but this guy, he has got 58 passing. I think what I'm going to do is, because the tackling is miles off for this guy, the speed isn't I think this guy's just too long to find out anything. I'm just going to put the MC in instead. So the MC was this guy. So I think that's what we're just going to do. Because this guy, if the passing comes out low, instantly dismissed, and we can bring another player in tomorrow. So that's kind of what we want. And this guy as well, passing low, instantly dismissed. If the tackling is low for this guy, then the speed. So this guy, we may not instantly dismiss him after the tackling, but stuff imminent to get rid of him. And this guy, I'm really not quite sure. Like the long shots, I think if that's low, then that's probably the end of him actually. Because the only reason why I can think we're holding on to this guy right now is for our creative forward AMC role. If he just somehow gets a line of perfect stuff, and the long shots will just instantly end that, as would low vision. So again, it is something that the next two reveals will potentially instantly dismiss him. And then with this guy, the speed, if that's low enough, could instantly dismiss him, and the aerial ability matters a lot. So I think we are in a nice spot where we're not. We can get rid of these. We're finding out stuff in the near-term future that matters a lot, which is pretty key at this point. Still early enough in the month to worry about that sort of thing. So, or to highly prioritize that. Right, let's go to the scouter players next. And we do this one by position. Typical, a bunch of keepers today. I think in particular we're saying, well, he's 95k. I don't know. He's got a couple ones. Not great. I think we just won't quite. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure. I feel like we just to pay 95k to not want to have to pay the 30k wages a month. Feel like we just hold on a bit, get someone a bit better for. Just feel like that's perfectly doable for 100k. This keeper's pretty nice, but we're not really looking for a keeper. I think we're looking to sell our keeper really at this point first. I'm going to go back and just check that guy. Just check if there's anything else. 78, 33. What was it? This guy. So he's got 79 shot stopping, 76 speed, 75 durability, 70 aerial ability, good determination. If he's playing, then handling not great, parrying not great, agility not great. I think that's a bad combination to have low. We discussed this in other videos, but low parrying, handling, and agility, you don't want all three of those to be low. It's okay if two along one's really high, but you don't want all three to be low just because of the game mechanics. Like if they save the shot, then they may or may not catch it depending on the handling. If they don't catch it, then they will parry it, and then depending on the parrying is how good the parry is. Like is it to a good spot where your team will get it first? Is it to a less good spot, so to speak, where the other team may get to it first? And then because of that, it means the ability to recover fast, get up on your feet again to recover after the parry. The agility really matters. So especially if the parry is bad and it's gone to the other team. So the fact that all three is low, it just creates this environment. Like it's the sort of like the the typical, like, they shoot, you parry it, it goes straight to their team and they tap it in sort of thing. So yeah, so it looks decent though, but I think just we'll just pass. Particularly we don't need a keeper. Don't use left back, so yeah, we'll just get through. DC, I think just not good enough. 26 tackling, 39 tackling. Don't use right back. 23 speed. Too old for us, but really nice. Yeah, too old. Don't use DML. I think we pass on this guy. We're getting loaded up on DMCs now that don't quite make the grade, and he that look pretty decent but aren't really quite good enough, and he's just another one of those. So I think we pass. This is a pretty atypical player to find in the scouting pool, to be honest, because he's like really good, basically. So why is he really good? I mean, for starters, he's really fast, so he's gonna. That's really good for some reasons. I mean, it's more important for other positions, but for DMC in particular, it does allow them to chase down a lot of depending on how the tactics and stuff is laid out and how the match is flowing. But quite often DMCs are in a good spot for interceptions to be able to make them. So the fact that he can get to the ball faster, just to pick up more interceptions, and also he'd be able to chase people down reliably to always be able to put a tackle in, which is good. Now the tackling ideally would be higher, but 69 is not bad for that. The passing and vision for any normal DMC role is okay for a normal tactic, but for us we want the deep line playmaker, so it's not high enough. And then he's just super well rounded, generally speaking, as well. On top of that, with some. But again, for the deep line playmaker in particular, he's not good. But for any regular DMC role, he's kind of really good. And yeah, nothing down yet, just bit up still. So a bit more dribbling, which could be useful. So got a decent ceiling still at that age. Decent, not great, just decent. I mean, literally decent. Not bad, not good, just decent. But yeah, not for us, I think. Not for us, because we want a deep line playmaker, but yeah. I think just another player that's not quite that DMC we're talking about, young ones that we've just got we already got 3 that are similar conceptually, just not look decent, but just not good enough to make the grade ultimately. This guy is a bit on the old side, but he's got some nice stuff, but just not what we need for anything. It's the type of player where we might consider it and add the position if he was something like, in particular, the deep line playmaker stuff, which he doesn't have. Because why doesn't he? Because the vision's not high enough, because the tackling's not high enough. But other than that, he probably could be. Yeah, it's not as good as the wide midfielders we have. Just not quite good enough. 72 passing's decent, whatever, but just not for a box to box. 16 tackling, just not good enough. Weird one because he's 16. He's only got a 61 ceiling and only 12 determination, so I think we'd just pass on that basis. But he could be alright if the ceiling was much higher and the determination was higher. I'll check his training options. What do you get? You get one. It's already had 1 training boost applied to this as well. So you get 6 flair, 4 finishing. So pretty good finishing. 3 long shots, 2 control. He's already had his speed applied, so it actually was 53 and then got a +6. Yeah, I think we'll pass though. But if we needed an MC, we'd probably just get him if we needed one for our youth. Yeah, would rather get this guy than this guy basically. Too old. Got 58 determination. Got enough endurance. Got some high stuff there. He hasn't had any training boosts yet applied, so he could get 6 more determination in either option, 6 agility, so +4 speed. This is the one you're going to take, I think, if you take one. So it's going to be +4 agility, +4 endurance, +4 speed, +1 strength, +6 determination. I don't know, I'm kind of like... He's got good finishing and composure, so that's fine. The long shots could be higher, but that's fine enough. As a goal scoring threat, it's good enough. The tackling isn't great, but it's good enough. The passing and vision, not great again, but good enough. And I don't know, we might get this guy. I think the dribbling, not great, but control is good. I don't know, I think on the whole, like, the speed is a bit slow and the work rate's not great, but I think on the whole we could just get this guy. Let's just compare him to. I think there is because instead of this Mackless, probably because he's just not really ever going to be anything. So we might as well be developing someone up. I think he could sit on the bench, and then also this guy will. Yeah, I think there's a place potentially for him. We could get him. Alright, we probably will. I'll just double check. What was he? 38 and 61. Yeah, and then our current, this guy, he's 65. $37 and 65. I don't know. You can already see how much better this guy's training options are because of all of that extra. I don't know. Maybe we need. Maybe 61 is just too low. Okay, it's probably just too low. What are the ceilings for our 16-year-olds now? Oh yeah. 61 is way too low. 63, 70, 65, 66, 69. Yeah, so we should be gunning for closer to 70. I think is the rule here. So we'll pass based on that. Again, it's another one. If we needed a player, we'd get him, but we don't. This guy, too low passing. He's too old, but pretty good and well-rounded and whatever. Too old, too slow. Don't use AML, and there's a bunch here. So let's just scan through. I mean, this guy's pretty interesting, to be honest. So, because he's got 75 finishing, 67 long shots, 24 composure. So the composure's a bit low, but the finishing is good. I need to wrap my head properly around for our creative forward. The finishing for sure, I think, is more important than the composure. The composure is still important. In composure in particular, it's more to do with very, very close range finishes. It's more about picking a better spot to shoot for, whereas the finishing is more about your accuracy, basically, for the spot where they're picked to shoot for. So basically higher finishing just means more shots on target, whereas higher composure in particular means just much more so for more close range type finishes, about just, basically just shooting it where the keeper isn't, so to speak, but in the goal. But I think most of the shots that our creative forwards has are in the box but not really close range. They're more like between sort of like penalty spot and edge of the box type range, where you just want basically the shot on target. I think we typically the real issue we have now is just the shot's just not on target enough. It's just wide too often. The long shots is good enough. The passing and finishing is good enough. The control ideally could be higher. The strength ideally would be higher. Speed ideally would be higher. The determination, if we're going to build this guy up, would ideally be higher. But we've looked at a lot, and this guy is pretty close to the top end of what we've seen, especially at this age. He would get you'd have an interesting choice here, effectively, between 2 passing or a flair and a strength. I'm not even sure, honestly, which one would be better. I'd have to think about that. It could be either. It could be a decent backup for now for our senior team. And for the youth team, he is just a massive upgrade over this guy. We might get him, you know. I feel like we might. We could even potentially change this to be a creative forward role if we cared. Don't know if I'm just being silly, but I feel like we could get him. The other thing we could do is just compare him. So what is he like? 30 control, 75 finishing, 67 long shots, 24 composure. We know he's slower than the other guy. So he's got more strength, he's slower, he's got a bit more aerial ability. The finishing is higher, the composure is about the same, the long shots is a bit lower, the passing and vision is high. To be honest, it's just like... Control is 30 instead. This guy's got 67 dribbling. What did the other guy have? And the other guy got a ton of flair, I think. Yeah, 78 flair. He's only got 44. All that flair is actually offsets the lower strength a bit, because at least he'll get fouled a bit more often as well. We probably are just going to buy this guy. We'll look through everything else first, because we're only getting him because we sort of like, as in sort of like a pseudo interim for getting the proper AMC, which could take a long time because of how picky we're being. So, but we'll just see, just in case we find our magical perfect player now. Really fast. Some interesting, and again, this is just this guy would just obliterate at youth level. If we bought him, he would just score so many goals with all that speed and strength and whatever, just and good enough finishing. He'd just score so many, but and +5 more speed, +2. What a great training option here. 4 crossing, 2 long shots, 2 marking, 2 flares, 6 determination, 5 speed, 5 more speed, 83 speed. He'd be crazy good. Yeah. Who was it? This guy. And he's 20, so... Well, let's look at the rest. Yeah, so some interest. I mean, this guy, I don't know, I'm trying to get my thoughts in place here. Like, 65 ceiling, 44 current. And this guy's 49 current, 62 ceiling. It's kind of like, but yeah, just compare the difference in the training options, eh? It's crazy different. Because the other guy's just got so much more growth still. I feel like It's definitely legitimate to buy this other guy. And he's only 120k wages because of that load as well. I feel like we can just get this guy. Probably, but for now, and we can probably get the AMC as well. And then that basically just makes our youth team never lose, pretty much, I believe. Those two players, if we were to do it, and I think that's not a bad thing. If we look at our youth squad, if we buy both of them, it's gonna basically though it's gonna displace Gutierrez and McLeod. So McLeod can just go instead of Gouvier, and Gutierrez can be on the bench instead of Maclas probably. And yeah, it is gonna. I think the main thing really is just obviously at the moment Gutierrez starting every match, and Letty pretty much can come on every single match, whereas yeah, it's definitely gonna hamper the youth development. Like let's just because basically we'll be displacing these two guys onto the bench, and right now we've basically got these. We got 4 players on the bench already: Letty, Baines, Joe Field, and Al Passian that we really want coming on every single match. So we already can't bring all 4 of those on. We can only bring 3, and then would put 2 more on the bench. So we'd only be able to bring 3 or 6 each match. It's not great at all. Think about that. Let's just look at the scouted players first. Not the scouted, the auctions. Oh, it's interesting. I mean, he's got 3 positions, unfortunately, but he could be. He could potentially have been the creative forward. Otherwise, we might have found out he's 26. We might have found the guy, to be honest, because except we haven't because of the positions. But I think control good enough, dribbling great, finishing good enough. The finishing composure, I don't know. The goal scoring maybe not quite there. But everything else is there. Really fast, good enough strength. But yeah, maybe we wouldn't have got him because of the 67, 39, 35, just not quite good enough. 2 low strength, I think. 2 low strength, 2 low control. We've looked at this guy before, but he has got that really high flair, which could offset that low strength a bit. I don't know, maybe it could be this guy. Wow, this guy is pretty interesting. But I don't think we need a striker. He wouldn't be for AMC, he'd just be for a striker, but he's pretty good. I would say just that speed and that strength and just being that clinical. And he's only 24. It's not what we need though. Right, so there was the one guy. We'll backtrack a bit. It was this guy, I think. Yeah, this guy's pretty interesting because it's an amount that we can actually afford. So 72.59. So he's a bit slower. Kind of basically, other than that, just better. Can go and see what his training option is like. So he could get 1 more speed, 3 more composure, and an endurance. I don't know. To be honest, I think this guy just is the solution to all of our problems. Pretty much. Looking at this guy, thinking... pretty much thinking exactly that. And he's kind of affordable. What I'll do is I'm just going to place... this is a part of the problem, is because he's affordable... let's just put it in a cheeky bid. A lowball cheeky one, and see if we're the only one who bids, I guess. And then the other thing is just... the scouter players. There was the 2 options. There was the AMC and just trying to think. This guy gets a bunch of youth matches this season, but to be honest, the big difference maker for the youth team is actually going to be this guy, to be honest. So we don't need to get both per se, and I think the main thinking with this other guy is that he could be the backup AMC for the senior team as well, which isn't insignificant. It's quite a significant thing. But now that we've bid for the other guy, yeah. I mean, I don't expect to necessarily get that other guy. It's a complicated situation, I'd say. I feel like we just get this guy, to be honest, because he's also a better striker to have for the first team than the one. He's just better than the guy we're currently running, so we might as well just. And he's got lower wages, so if we might as well just get him and rotate the other guy out. I feel like this guy's just a good pickup, especially with that training option that we checked. It's one reason to check those training options, just that extra speed and stuff. It's just a big deal. I think we're just going to buy this guy. So yeah. So to be clear now, that basically means that I just realised we've got loads more depth on the senior team already, but we didn't need a striker at all for that. So that was a bit funny. But yeah, anyway, for the youth team, I think we just don't want this guy on the bench anymore. We'll put Gutierrez on the bench, and this guy will just start, and we'll just put both as striker. And honestly, I just think that the youth team's going to run right now, and they'll both be there next season as well if we want them to both be. It does cut the development a bit for these players, but honestly, I just don't think this guy's... Well, yeah, whatever. It's done now. So I think in the end we can probably sell Supic maybe if we get a bid. So yeah. Alright, awesome. Training options still. It was quite the complicated set of stuff today. So this guy, he's the one we added striker. So the dribbling, control, the vision, the composure, the work. I think on the whole it's probably just +1 work rate. Probably don't care too much. +2 composure. Matters. So we've got 2 composure and a vision. 2 composure, a vision, and a control. Or 2 dribbling and a tackling. Now the tackling doesn't matter really either that much. Neither does a work rate. So at this point I think you're just saying 2 composure, a vision, and a control versus 2 dribbling. So I think it's that one. And they're close like that. You need to see the whole profile to sort of see all of the attributes. So why does that matter? Because when I was looking at the dribbling, I knew, for example, here that it was already low. But I can see, for example, that the strength is really high. So that doesn't make it as important that the dribbling is high in particular, because it's already really low anyway. He's going to get caught a lot, and that extra little bit probably doesn't help much. But if he does, the really high strength is just good because he may get through the tackle anyway. So if, for example, the strength was really low and whenever he gets caught up he probably just loses the ball all the time, then getting the dribbling a little bit higher becomes more important, so that that happens a little bit less often. So right, agility we care about. Parrying we care about. I think it's this one on the whole, because you're basically saying 3 parrying and 2 natural fitness versus 2 agility. I do think the agility per individual attribute point is more important than this other stuff. So if it was like if it was 4 more agility on this side of something, we'd definitely take it. If it was 3, we may not. We'd and ah, but at 2, I think it's this other side. Pina. We're saying, I think this guy's just getting tired, really tired every match, and he's starting and just getting tired every match. So we've got to prioritise the endurance and the natural fitness. So I think it's just this side. It's just got to prioritise it. And then this guy, I think, what do we care most about with him when he plays? The passing matters because that's the main reason, and we don't want him getting too slow. So I guess it's this one because he's getting less slow and the passing goes up. The finishing don't matter. really it's just bad. The movement not bothered, and the aerial ability is the same. So I think it's this one. And then this is the new striker. I think it's this side. We're saying, yeah. Plus, yeah, these ones are so big. Okay, awesome. Well, that was a bit longer than usual. Thanks for watching, and yeah, we'll catch you for the next one.